Yellowstone, the first national park in the United States and 3,472 square miles of natural beauty and biospheric diversity. Nearly 67 species of mammals roam the park, ranging from gray wolves to grizzly bears to over 300 species of birds. Approximately 1,300 species of vascular plants cover a massive landscape alongside an active volcano. 60% of the world's geysers reside in the park, some of which erupt fairly regularly, like the wildly popular Old Faithful. Yellowstone's impeccable beauty draws over 3 million tourists every year to experience all that the park has to offer. However, all this human activity has a vast and varied impact on the park. Although the influx of human activity has some positive implications, ultimately the damages the park has endured due to human impact have outweighed the positives. On the positive side of human impact, Yellowstone park rangers ensure the safety of both visitors and wildlife. Managers have been successful at providing enjoyment for visitors while protecting resources, such as their work in protecting and stabilizing the population of grizzly bears in the face of harmful tourist activity and preventing spread of bacteria carried by bison to local cattle. In this way, managers have done their best to keep the local public satisfied, allowed tourists to safely enjoy the park's beauty, and attempt to ensure that the wildlife remains relatively unaffected by increased tourist activities. Scientists also represent a large human presence in the park, studying and learning about the park's many diverse ecosystems and habitats. Scientific research has been important to Yellowstone, as scientists can interpret the data and trends as well as estimate natural variability and ecological processes, which can be relayed to the general public in order to maintain and conserve Yellowstone. While these specific human interactions with Yellowstone are helpful, humans have many negative impacts on the park, and wildlife are increasingly responding to tourism in alarming ways. For example, though scientists may help humans understand the park's ecological systems and human results on such systems, they may also be insensitive to the impacts of their activities, such as radio collaring or destructive sampling of vegetation in the park. Tourism, though beneficial to local and national human economies, has the most direct and visible negative impact on Yellowstone ecosystem. Tourist behaviors, such as feeding the animals, can have lasting impacts by altering an animal's natural behavioral pattern. Animals may become dependent on the new food source or may develop aggressive behaviors. Bears, for example, have continuously been affected by human interactions. One study on bears in Yellowstone found that human presence in the park causes bears to alter their habitat locations, moving both closer and further away from human settlements depending on a number of factors. On a smaller scale, tourists love the idea of seeing a bear in Yellowstone, so they throw caution to the wind and get far closer to wildlife than they should. Some tourists even end up hitting bears with their cars. Uneducated tourists can cause tragedies, such as the instance where a baby bison had to be euthanized after a group of tourists put it in the back of a car to keep it warm, and it was then rejected by its herd. Tourists have also been known to throw garbage and debris into the natural hot springs of Yellowstone, which not only alters many organisms' ecosystems, but also has the potential to clog up parts of the heat source and cause the spring's temperature to lower. But the negative human impacts on Yellowstone National Park should not be taken as permanent. Humans can and should learn from our mistakes to better our relationship with the park. The American public can have a huge impact on what happens in Yellowstone National Park, both through their actions in the park and through advocacy to National Park Services and the national government. When visiting the park, tourists should remember to read up on park rules and regulations. Simply staying the regulated distance away from wildlife can help keep both the animals and humans safe. Yet, sometimes visitors have trouble finding and internalizing park rules. One study on tourism in Yellowstone found that oral information given by park rangers is more effective than printed materials or signs, and yet the park estimates that it has only 1/5 of the staff needed to successfully monitor visitors. Advocating for more park management is an important step in improving human-animal interactions. Visitors and management should focus on 1. Containing foods so that bears do not repeatedly show up at the same sites, 2. Slowing their vehicle speeds and protesting the widening of roads, both of which have been shown to harm or kill bears or other animals, and 3. Helping to slow the human-induced decline of the bear's natural food source, cutthroat trout and whitebark pine. Further, rather than write legislation that focuses primarily or exclusively on tourism and land development to boost the local economy, policymakers should focus on more effective management of resources and wildlife safety rather than looking the other way. We have a responsibility to uphold Yellowstone's rich history of providing a place where humans and animals can peacefully coexist with breathtaking surroundings. It is up to us, tourists and policymakers alike, to impact the park in a more positive way than negative. We must ensure that Yellowstone endures for generations to come.